this formula has worked for me in every situation. I can accept it, negotiate change, or get out, leave it. And so in all of that, when you operate from a state of power, you are going to notice that you feel good all the time. What does that mean? Right? We're either operating from a state of power or powerless, and they're not simultaneous. And power is defined by you. It's kind of a weird word now because we look at everything around us as being people are utilizing their power to control. But at the end of the day, power is defined by you. Do I like my thinking? Do I love my thoughts? Do I like how I handled this conflict with this situation where this person was pretty much browbeating me? Do I like the choices that I'm making? Do I love the essence of how I'm feeling about life, right? That's living in your power. And when you are guided by, you could call it your inner guidance system. You could call it your soul. You could call it your creator. You could call it the universe, whatever name you want to give it. It's always one step ahead of you.
Are you curious about discovering ways of making your life better? Then welcome to my podcast. I'm Bob Nickman, and this is The Exploding Human. Listen in while I talk with all kinds of people in the fields of personal growth, health and healing, alternative therapies, psychology, spirituality, environment, and the future. I'm looking for those answers that make life better for everyone. You'll meet cutting-edge practitioners, doctors, artists, filmmakers, business people, and those who have overcome challenges. The brave, the curious, anyone who's out there helping us humans to explore, expand, and explode. Hey, welcome to The Exploding Human. I'm Bob Nickman. My guest today is Steve Wiltshire. He is a keynote speaker and author and a mindset coach, and the founder of Body Temple Health and Wellness. Lots of wonderful information from Steve coming up. First, I'd like to invite you to visit my website, theexplodinghuman.com. Over there, you can listen to episodes, see photos of my guests, synopses of the episodes, little bio on myself. There's a donate button if you'd like to support the show through Patreon. Much appreciated. There's also a YouTube channel, The Exploding Human with Bob Nickman, Add with Bob Nickman, and The Exploding Human Facebook page. Thanks so much for supporting the show. So my guest today, as I said, is Steve Wiltshire, and he has made fitness, health, and mindset a priority for decades now. And shortly after winning the Mr. Oregon Bodybuilding Championship, something that we're going to talk a little bit about, Steve developed an autoimmune disease that originated from a serious gut complication that almost ruined his health. So we're going to be talking a lot about gut health and his path to healing himself over an 18-month period, changing the way he ate, and also some of the belief systems that he had that were not serving him. Steve is a wonderful guy. I've had several conversations with him off the podcast, and he's just a wonderful guy who really cares about helping other people. So please listen in to Steve Wiltshire. Good morning, Steve. It's so great to see you again.
Great to be here, Bob.
You're up in Portland, Oregon. Great place. And I got a couple friends that live up there. And
I've lived here all my life, and the last 2 years has been really unique. We'll give that a word.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I think the whole world is pretty unique in the last couple of years. And I'm looking forward to a shift in our global health situation. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, all in body, mind, and spirit. All those three wonderful things that we were talking about before we started recording. So tell me, let's just start with this. How did you get here from, well, I know you were a bodybuilder at one point, and first of all, how did you get to that? And then what happened? And then where did it go from there? It's a pretty cool story, I have to say.
First of all, I want to really acknowledge your work. I want to really acknowledge that I have had the opportunity and blessing to be on many, many podcasts. And the conversation that I had with you last week was so profound. And then have had time to listen to your episodes. And of course, when I subscribed to your podcast, after I read the description, I was just awestruck by what you have in place. And then to hear your own journey, Bob, and what you're up to and the transformation that you've created in your own life, but the passion to really make an impact. And I just want to say to all your listeners, you're in the right place. You're in the right place.
Well, thank you, Steve. That's a wonderful thing for you to say.
I don't really give compliments. I tell the truth. I'm pretty so, as much as it might sound like a compliment, it's really not.
Well, I'll give little ones. Yeah, I give ones like, I like your hat.
Yeah, right. This hat means something to me. I'm wearing this hat that's all beat up, and it's been through my life and some of my greatest challenges that I've overcome. And really, I see that being my life work, getting through challenges and helping other people getting through challenges. And when you ask the question, how did I get here? Oh, it's so beyond that. It's, I want to just say to all of you that we create our own reality. We create our own reality. And the life that we're living today is in direct proportion to the choices we made yesterday. And the life that we'll live tomorrow is in direct proportion to the choices we make in the moment. So we can't change the past, and why go there except to...
Steve, I'm hearing a beep, like a hum, like a hum. I don't know if that's your mic.
You know what? It's my phone and it's on vibrate. So
okay.
Do you want to start over? Sorry about that.
No, I love mistakes. Let's just keep going. I don't even call it a mistake. It's just,
Okay, let's turn it over. Do you want to, are you going to edit? Is that what you're going to do?
I might keep it in. Sometimes I like, I like the humanness. Yeah. I'm not like upset or anything. This isn't.
We can spend so much time in the past. I remember the time that I just was able to relinquish the past, to bless it, to know that it was part of how I got to where I was, and to stay in the present and notice that all my choices I make moment to moment are going to create the reality or the possibility of the life that I want to create tomorrow. And so what that has done for me is provided me with opportunities to create my own reality. I always say this to clients that are stuck. I just say it, bottom line. I just say, this formula has worked for me in every situation. I can accept it, negotiate change, or get out, leave it. And so in all of that, when you operate from a state of power, you are going to notice that you feel good all the time. What does that mean? Right? We're either operating from a state of power or powerless, and they're not simultaneous. And power is defined by you. It's kind of a weird word now because we look at everything around us as being people are utilizing their power to control. But at the end of the day, power is defined by you. Do I like my thinking? Do I love my thoughts? Do I like how I handled this conflict with this situation where this person was pretty much browbeating me? Do I like the choices that I'm making? Do I love the essence of how I'm feeling about life, right? That's living in your power. And when you are guided by, you could call it your inner guidance system. You could call it your soul. You could call it your creator. You could call it the universe, whatever name you want to give it. It's always one step ahead of you. You're tapped in, you're tuned in, you're in alignment. And that's the beautiful part of life, that we've given this thing called free will. Even when you study the mind is, the primal mind is animals, right? We look at animals, and flight and fight is a real thing. We have flight and fight, but we also have that frontal lobe that really I see as being, no one really talks about this, but the symbolism of free will, that we've been given free will. And the frontal lobe, scientists say, has a capacity, if it were megabytes, it would be 1 billion megabytes, but most people only operating from about 2,000. And that's the journey, right? Like, know thyself, know what you're passionate about, Start to focus on the things that bring you joy and invite contrast in. Contrast is wanted and unwanted conditions. I mean, we look at contrast like it's bad. No, you got circumstantial power and you have personal power. You're going to be dealt these adversity cards in the game of life. And in these adversity cards, when you operate from a state of power, like you invited in and think, this is an unwanted condition, what will have me be my best in it?
Yeah, it really is all about how we choose, and we can choose what our perception is.
Mm-hmm.
And in a sense, there are facts, but there is really no truth. There's just perception. And you can perceive things however I always ask the question, how's that working for you? It's the simple question. And
damn good question.
In any situation, I'm miserable, I'm angry, I'm upset. So is that working for you? Some people, it does work for them. They like that. They like to feel that way. They get something out of it. I don't know what that is but I've been that guy, so I get it.
I've been that guy too.
Yeah.
There's a payoff.
There's a payoff.
And if you think about it, like it is personal, like the payoff is I get to be right.
Yeah.
I get to be a victim. I don't have to participate in this. And to piggyback on that beautiful question, is this thought taking me where I want to go? 30
plus years ago, I said to a friend of mine, I was very uncomfortable because I was angry all the time. And I said, my goal right now, I was in my 30s, and I said, my goal is to become less angry. And he kind of looked at me, he goes, and he was a really angry guy, angrier than me.
I can't even imagine.
He goes, yeah, man, that's a really good goal. And I really sort of took it in a way that was cellular, where I just went, I've got to figure out a way to move through the world without this balled up tension that I've been carrying since I was a kid, and I don't even care why I was carrying it. And that's really been my goal, to be less angry. That's one of my goals. It's certainly not.
Let's stay here. Like that is, and I've had this entrepreneur brand for 20 years, and 3 years ago, shifting to life, health, and wellness. But these entrepreneurs will hire me to build these very thriving, revenue-driven organizations or companies, right? And they soon realize in our work that we're taking a look at many different aspects of their life, the aspects of their life that they desire change. They want a greater expression of themselves. And when I take them through this curriculum called Designing a Life and Business Plan, we tap into goals. And goals really come down to three things. I want to achieve this. I want to experience this, or I want to become this. And it's amazing when like the trump is really to focus on attributes, ways of being, because when you elevate your internal world, it will completely shift your external world. Like the very things that you want can come out of character.
I want to get back to this, my first question, because I was fascinated with the fact, because this is so not my story at all, that you were a bodybuilder. I'm not somebody that operated from physical. I'm more of like a thinker mind guy. And I was not really much of an athlete. I never played sports, and I never had that goal to be an athlete. And I don't think I've ever had a bodybuilder I know you don't do that now, or maybe you do, but I know you were a competitive bodybuilder. I'm really fascinated with what drove you to that, and what happened that because I know it's sort of toward the end of that, it wasn't working in some areas.
Yeah, like getting sick, right?
Yeah, like getting sick. Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up with two brothers. I was the middle one, and I was like the black sheep. I was the weird one. My dad was really athletic and college pro at one point, and just extremely gifted with coordination and, basketball, baseball, football. Like he was just, and I wasn't. And he would joke with me all the time. And I just would laugh. But in my heart, I felt sad. Like he would just say, "What's the matter with you? You're not my son. You're not coordinated. Come on, man. You can figure this out. Did I get the wrong baby in the hospital?" Like he would just, and I'd laugh, like, but I knew that's what I should do. Right?
Yeah.
I should do, right? And so I remember when it first started, I was 27 years old. I was at an entrepreneur convention. I ended up being a rebellious kid, but nobody really knew it. It was like I would choose, like all my family, none of them were entrepreneurs. I became an entrepreneur at 18. But I went to this convention and it was about 4,000 entrepreneurs there. And the keynote speaker, Patricia Fripp, she's friggin' amazing, got to the end of this keynote and she got quiet. Everybody got quiet, like it was a couple minutes. And then she kneeled down, very short, like 5'1". And then she pointed her finger and went from one side of the room to the next. And she said, "What are you sick and tired of being sick and tired of?" Mm-hmm. I wrote, "I hate my body." And I came home and I thought about that. Here I got a beautiful wife and I had never had sex in the light, never took my shirt off. Like I was just so ashamed of my body. But really it was all this programming from many years. And then the thought of me hiring a trainer was about 6 months before my 10th year reunion. And so you're right. Like I got to where I'm at through these external changes. And at first it felt good, but to soon realize on my journey that what I was really searching for is the real definition of esteem, love who I am, and give no credence to the external world, accept people for who they are. Like the real state of equality is that we don't feel any better or worse than anyone. I used to always feel like people are better or I was better. Like there was this odd thinking in that whole realm. And then I got to a point in my life that I could be around a multimillionaire or somebody very influential and just see the equality, or, stopping and having a conversation with a homeless person and letting that influence my life and learning from that person as well, like her giving back. But that's kind of how it all started. Mm-hmm.
So you wanted to change externally first, not that it was a conscious decision. I want to do this first, but that was the way you were going to transform yourself. And then once you hit a peak of that world, what got you sick?
God, this is a good interview. It's really emotional for me. Like I was,
I love that.
32 and I didn't know why I was feeling the way that I was feeling. In fact, I had a lot of anxiety all the time. Sometimes I had no idea what I was thinking about when I was sleeping. I would wake up with immense anxiety. And I think I was like starting to experience depression. And then when I would think about it, I'm like, God, my life's so damn good from the external. I have this beautiful home, always a brand new car, and body looks great. Marriage is great. We're expecting a child. That really was the undercurrent because I didn't want to have children. I got married knowing I did not want to have children. By the grace of God, just ended up with this incredible being that I've been able to learn from. Hear me, parents. And in all of that, like my life looks so great. I was in sales. I had a $19 million a year business. We would win every award. And I didn't know why I was feeling this way. I had so much anxiety. I was waking up in the middle of the night. I kept praying for guidance. And then, doctors wanted to get me on antidepressants. I was like, I don't think I'm depressed. I'm a happy person. And all of a sudden, acquaintance friend that had made all these changes in her life I hadn't seen for a while knocked at my door, and we had this conversation, and I knew there was something different about her, and I asked her, "How'd you do this?" And she said, "I hired a coach." And I said, "What do you mean?" Back in 98, like the life coaches weren't really that popular, and I hired this coach, and after just about 3 sessions she realized, she threw it out, and I said, "You're exactly right. I had created this life based on my perception an illusion of what I thought other people thought of my success. And so at 32, I'm like, I don't know the fuck I am. Like who am I? And through this experience with this coach, I got to know myself, and it started to change everything for me. Everything changed from this experience, this environment with this coach. And going back to how I ended up healing myself, before I got sick, I thought everything that I was doing was ideal, but most everything that I learned about really from experts. I would always hire experts about these radical meal plans and like keto. And, there's different forms of keto, I get it, but there's some radical keto diets and supplements with chemicals in them. They were wrong. They couldn't sustain as I got aged. So what was really happening for me is that it was just, I was going reverse. So I had no signs leading up to my illness. And I remember being with my son in a vegan restaurant at that point. He's maybe 12, 13. And I remember just all of a sudden, my stomach started to explode. It just like enlarged. And I said, I think I need to go to ER. There's something wrong with me. So I ended up going to my doctor and having this blood work, and my labs looked extraordinary. And I was like, what's the matter with me? What am I going through? Well, the good news is my son, his name is Quinn, his mom had been on this 2-year journey of healing herself from cancer, breast cancer, no chemo, no radiation. And so she was ahead of the game, but I didn't understand it. I wasn't necessarily totally tapped in, and she couldn't always explain it. And so I started to go down this journey, and she had pretty much lived the philosophy and practices of the top, what I think, healing institute in the US, the Hippocrates Health Institute in Southern Florida. And, 100% plant-based, live sprouts, no chemicals, no toxins. And so I just ended up following that path. And after I shifted from doctors that knew nothing, and, a lot of them just, autoimmune is really confusing. I hired these naturopaths that were really healers. And I had this serious case of candida that they just give the celiac name to, but it had exploded in my body. It took me $20,000, 18 months to go through this transition. And I just want to say to everybody, get lab work, but not necessarily through your doctor unless they're going to do extensive. Get lab work like every 6 months, especially with a naturopath. I mean, 14% of you are walking around with parasites. Like, you have parasites that are just, and some of them really can start this process of producing, or we'll say activating, these cancer cells. Parasites are contracted through chemicals, toxins contained in processed food, supplements, water, animal protein, even pass through sexual contact. And when you start to learn how they can, first sign, most people have this brain fog. Doctors don't, like, I had same blood work with a doctor within a week and a naturopath within a week. And one knew I had parasites and the doctor didn't. Like, what's that about? Right? Like, real stuff.
Yeah. I've, there are, blood tests, blood work that you can get done that are really specific and extensive. And the only people that seem to really do that, and it's probably because insurance doesn't pay for it, are the naturopaths. They the homeopaths and those people, they can get that full scan of your blood, and you can really tell a lot of stuff. Now, isn't candida, doesn't it feed on sugar?
It does. What are the 3 greatest decisions I can make to restore my health? Even someone that's, have average health, they want to take it to another level, or they're narrow, they have to go narrow, they're sick. I'd say, number 1, eliminate or greatly diminish sugar, and understand that there are 65 ingredients that doesn't say sugar, but it is sugar. It is disguised. Second, sweat. Release toxins. If I were to show you a picture of me 10 years ago, leading up to it, man, it was so subtle, just like a very subtle process of me getting so much inflammation, because I had very low body fat at one point and low inflammation. But I mean, I look so old, and I'm in a sauna 5 days a week. It's, some of my older clients, I got to get a knee replacement. And then all of a sudden they're sweating and detoxing. And then 3 months later, they're practically, running in the mall or walking fast with their grandchildren. And then they don't have to have a knee replacement. What the hell is that about? Like, why does that restore the body where there's so many natural toxins, let alone what we're actually infusing in our body? And third, go green, man. Go green. After a while, your body just craves it. And I think, just like nature resets itself after a fire. And now what do? I'm like 90% produce. I even, it's super easy, but I grow my own sprouts. Like, it's just like, I have created this anti-aging process that restores health. I can't believe how excited I'm getting about this conversation.
Yeah, well, what's great is that I did have the opportunity to interview the founder of the Hippocrates Institute, Brianclements. So if anyone wants to scroll through my website and find Brian's interview,
gotta listen to it, guys. It's amazing.
He's really an innovator and a very courageous guy, in that he has created this institute and really goes for what he believes in, and he's helped a lot of people to change the way they live. I was one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is I think I mentioned this when we spoke the last time, was I have a close friend who he's sober about 3 years, and he's ready to make a change in his diet. He's overweight. He eats a lot of sugar. He eats a lot of processed food. He has 2 little kids and a wife that can eat anything. He said to me, I don't even know where to start. I just don't know about this stuff. And what do I do? So this is a person who's sort of standard American trained, in almost every area, was a party animal. He's given that up, which is fantastic. But now he's substituted, one thing he probably was eating crappy when he was drinking, but he also is now, uses food in the same way to manage feelings and would like to make a change. And a lot of the people I talk to that want to make that change, they'll say to me, I don't know where to begin. And 2, I can't handle eating like a raw salad. It bothers my stomach. I'm not used to that. It's a tough transition. So for somebody that wants to start to change, I know you gave the 3 things: eliminate or diminish sugar, sweat, great idea, and go green. What else can people do? And I know you have a detox plan. So I've asked a lot of questions in one little blurb here.
The one thing that I get about I worked with thousands of people individually and in groups in my entrepreneur brand, and now with Body Temple. And a confused mind says no. So it's opposite of 20 years ago when AOL came into play, is that we have so much content and we don't know where to start. And so this was our work. Like, I have 5 life principles, and one of them that relates to this conversation is the value we offer is always determined by the other person. I love to say to clients when they're talking about their children, I just say, well, your teenager, Jill, gets to decide whether she likes you or not, whether she wants to listen or not. Like, are you looking at life through her lens? And if you did, what would you think? What would you change? Would you listen more? Would you be more curious instead of telling her what to do, right? And so I create with that end in mind. And that's one of the reasons we created this Kickstart Detox program. Now it's technically called Kickstart or 15-day Kickstart Detox program. It's a catchy name. That's all great. But what is it really about? Ongoing detoxing and gut health. And it's bodytemplekickstart.com for those of you that are hanging out, listening, and want to go check it out. The reason it works is that it's a 3-step process. we first make the decision we're ready for change. Now, some of us, I mentioned how I felt when I was in that audience at that convention, and I wrote, I hate my body. But sometimes when we're given a diagnosis and it almost appears like we don't have any choice, we just have made this decision. I want to live. I want to feel better. I want to figure this out. We make a decision, we're ready for change. Second, we create an ideal wellness plan. Now, that's a big conversation. We've got a whole process around that. Even in our community, I mean, a lot of our Facebook Lives, our content, we've got many, many, many coaches that are interacting with people. It's called our philanthropic movement. We just decided to start a Facebook group a couple months ago. It's building, it's growing, but it's got all sorts of training and support and interaction and lives. And the file section is just full of complimentary resources. Jump on Facebook and just look for Body Temple Community, search Body Temple Community, ask for approval, you're in. But in that, like, we create a customized ideal wellness plan. That's the second step. The third step is that we shift our poor habits to ideal habits, and we have to notice our triggers. That's the work and the stage that your friend is in. Right now, when I circle back and I look at the circumstances that led me up to my illness, I would say 70% of them had to do with these radical meal plans. But there were all these supplements I was taking. I was just trusting. I mean, my belief, my reality, my perception was all supplements are good for me. So that's my reality. But the 30% that I didn't know until I started to tap into it was that depression and anxiety actually toxify your gut. Now, I didn't know that. And I didn't have depression at all, but I was like, moving constantly. And I had a lot of anxiety. And for those of you that are parents, when your child is saying, "Mommy, my tummy hurts," they could be saying, "I'm depressed," or "I have anxiety and I don't know how to deal with it." I mean, the gut's right in the center of your body. There is so much proof around how it affects your body. And it's crazy. I didn't know that 92% of the supplements on the market had chemicals in them. I'm even looking at my formulation. I found a formulator and I was like, I want 100% chemical-free pre-probiotic with at least 5 billion spores. I want digestive enzymes. I didn't want the capsule to have any chemicals in them. Like, I want something that's mild and that won't compromise my day. And this formulation just was a big part of what healed my gut. And I can tell you, just all of you, that this is the beauty of, there's two pathways: the pathways that are within our realm of control, and then the supplements we take, the things outside, the external, the people we hire that we work with. But that was like that whole journey for me, man. Healing my $20,000 later, 18 months later, it was quite the journey.
Yeah. Well, when you think about that, sounds like a lot of money, but then again, people buy cars for 2 and 3 times that amount of money.
You're right.
To look good and, be cool and all that. So is it,
my 20,000 was to heal. That was
yeah. I mean, that's money well spent. You're here now because of that.
What affects everything, right?
Everything comes from how you feel. Who was I talking to yesterday? I can't remember. There was somebody I was saying, if you don't feel good, everything else is just so diminished that it's almost, it's got to be the first thing, you're born here. Here's my own personal take on life, that you're born with 3 things. You're born with a body. Hopefully it's in good shape when you come out. Most people are born pretty healthy. The second is an unknown amount of time. You don't know how long you're going to be around. You have an unknown amount of time, and you have a spirit, some sort of an inner life force. So the only 3 questions that you need to answer is, how am I going to take care of this body that I've been given?
Yeah.
How will I spend this unknown limited amount of time? And how will I nurture that spirit that I've been blessed with? And everything else comes off of that. So if you're going to say, well, I'm going to spend my time chasing looking good on the outside, that's a good choice if that works for you. It doesn't work for me, but most people do take a period of time in their life where that is very important. Usually from starts as a teenager wanting to be cool, and then you kind of go from that and you carry that into your 20s sometimes, and pursuit of money is another one. But all those things,
it's ego driven.
Yeah, and it's also pleasure seeking too. And the mistake that I certainly made in youth, and probably most people do, is that I mistook pleasure seeking for happiness. I thought those were the same things.
Right.
And
contentment's really the deepest degree of happiness.
Yeah. So how do we reach that sort of sense of ease and comfort where you don't need to be constantly chasing and distracted and confused and anxious, like you're saying. And I do think it starts with some physical health, because when you talk about brain fog, oh my goodness, what gave me brain fog and actually put me to sleep was this is my own personal thing.
Yeah.
Anything with wheat and flour, pasta.
I know, right?
I would eat pasta and within an hour I would go to sleep.
I know.
And I used it as a way to calm myself. Like I called it, I got to have some ballast.
Yeah. You pasta lovers, you wouldn't believe there's a pasta that you can actually make or buy that has no wheat. It doesn't come from flour. Let me give you some shocking statistics about our food source. 68% of bar-coded food contains all this added sweetener. That shit is toxic. Like when you really get down to it, like there are really great sweeteners that are completely chemical free. Studies show that 90% of all disease can be traced back to the gut microbiome. Millions of people are walking around experiencing some form of leaky gut syndrome. And basically it means you have these little tears and small holes in your gut lining, and it allows all these tiny particles and chemicals to get into your bloodstream. Now I'm a person that really doesn't care about science. How do I say this? I want to know the bottom line. I'm like a bottom line guy. And so I remember thinking when I was like bloated all the time, what's the cause of this? What can I do to make sure that I don't ever have this damn experience again? And this is where you want to get educated. And we have this Kickstart Detox manual that took us months to write. And part of that is that we didn't want to complicate it. We wanted it to work from the lens of the person that has no knowledge, and it's a stretch, to the person that is committed and I want to have the knowledge to go to the next level, to the person that's like, I know I'm sick and I need to make decisions, or I know I'm sick and my blood work looks fine. And this is important for those of you, when you are in that state, I'm telling you right now, that is the time that you can make the greatest decisions right there.
I remember talking to this woman in a health food store. I don't know how she was, probably close to 70, but she looked a lot younger. And she said, she was talking to me about the clarity of her mind and how great she felt because of the way she ate, which is the way you're talking about. And she said, you know that a lot of people are afraid to feel this way?
Ooh.
And I said, yeah, you're right. Because there's something about walking around in a fog there's a safety in not being too aware, because then you don't get hurt. You don't get, you're the things that, you know what I'm saying? It's like being drugged. So,
brother, I hear you. Like,
so ask yourself, I guess, or ask myself, what am I afraid of in that level of clarity and energy? What would I, part of me, my instinct is I'll be so different than most people that it'll make me alone, because I won't be like the masses. That would be the fear part of it.
And then you start to ask yourself, is this true? Second question is, can you prove it's absolutely true? Third question is, what's this thought costing me? Fourth question is, who and where would I be without this thought? I mean, when you think of even meal plans, and we'll go in here with clarity, like some of these aggressive keto plans, and they're these fads. What you really want is to create a lifestyle. Like they can cause all sorts of nutrient deficiency. Kidney stones come out of these like radical meal plans, and they affect your liver, your gallbladder. And so who the heck wants that? We got to give up instant gratification. And let's get real. Your health is affecting way more than your health. It's not just affecting you, it's affecting your relationships, and it can affect your finances. I mean, my favorite two questions to anyone that I'm having a conversation with in health, I'll tell you my second favorite question is, hey, it's a year from today and your health is absolutely ideal. And you and I haven't talked for a year, and you're texting me, you got a minute, Steve? And you're on a rampage around your ideal health. Like, tell me about it. What would you be experiencing? How would you feel? But my favorite question is, what don't you want to deal with in 5 years? Give me the worst scenario. It's 5, 10 years from today, and your health has affected your finances, your marriage, your attitude. I mean, what would be the worst scenario? That is the question of the day that gets people off the stands. You know, when I think of Joe Dispenza, is another great person to follow on YouTube. His videos are amazing. Dispenza, Dispenza, I think.
Yeah, that's it.
Joe. But like, my son's mom isn't even the same person. You know, what do I mean by that? Like, she had cancer 10 years ago, healed herself, went 5 years, life got in the way, that circumstantial power, 2 parents with a dementia, went through a shift in a relationship. They might as well have been married because they were together for 10 years. And in that, got off track. Well, she's got the genetic issue. Her mom's family, everybody's died of cancer. When Lynn was 12, her her sister was 21 and she died of cancer. In her mind, it was a story around that everybody gets cancer at a young age, right? Yeah. And in all of that, you know, she made this shift into this enlightened place that Quinn and I talk about constantly. Joe Dispenza did a case study with 50,000 people that had a death sentence. That meant they had a certain period of time to live. And they had all different ethnic backgrounds, all different cultures, all different religions. And even the ones that were atheists in their own way of thinking, Joe said they had 3 commonalities. Number one, they believed a creator, or this force wanted them to live. Second, they became unknown to the people around them. Now, I do know Lynn, but she's not the same person. She's just not the same person. She got her cancer back 2 weeks before COVID started, and she's completely healed. Like, she's done it all on her own. She's even had a surgeon in case she needed one, and she had doctors, and they're like fascinated by watching her blood work. Didn't even utilize one friggin' prescription. She became a person able to see her at parties around people. She brings her own food. She's like, that's just her life. That's her thing. She loves it. And third, they lost track of time in meditation, but not a meditation that is elementary meditation, dude. Like, meditation in your elementary is like, I'm going to meditate every day. Real meditation is doing the thing that you love to do, that you just get off track of time. You are so in this altered state. You want to share anything, Bob? Anything coming up for you?
Well, I was in it right there. I was totally in it as you were saying it. I'm like, oh, that's where I am right now. I love these conversations. They are so important to me. And I was thinking, I wonder how long we've been talking, because I haven't tracked it at all.
I love all of these episodes I want to watch on your show because they're so about the things we are curious about that we don't ever talk about. Yeah, I think the subject here is that, helping all of you that are listening. What are you hearing today that relates to you? What's the contrast, the wanted and unwanted conditions? And the thing that goes really radiates through my heart is that people are overwhelmed. They don't know where to start. And
yes,
we have this 3-minute evaluation that when you opt into the Kickstart Detox program or jump into the community, it's all part of the announcements, right? And this 3-minute evaluation, the reason it takes, first of all, people are blown away. They can't believe how much they get. And they understand about what they want, what they don't want from this 3-minute evaluation, because you're just checking a box. We thought of every single question you could possibly think
I looked
about.
at that and the questions were great. It's, it's simple, but it isn't simple.
People can't believe, like, it's our first way to be able to help people. But what's often going on is that what you're really wanting is to be in a state where you're unstoppable, unshakable. And you're looking at other people that have what you want. Doesn't matter what area in life, let's say health. You're looking at other people that you're thinking, I want that. Or you're envious of what they have. They both mean the same thing. One's just healthy and one's not. And what's getting in the way is that you have a story behind it. You have these limiting beliefs or this story like I had. I'm always going to be skinny. I'm never going to be athletic. I am, not masculine, whatever, you've made it true. It's become your true North Compass, and it's not real. You've just made it that way. And so, like Tony Robbins says, the strategy shifts the story. And in that contrast of unwanted and wanted conditions, this is universal law. You start off with desire.
Thanks so much for talking to me today, Steve. I'm sure we'll be able to find other topics to cover. This was amazing. This was just, very great experience to just hang with you and talk about all these cool things that I'm interested in too. So Steve Wiltshire, you're the best. Thank you.
Thank you, brother, for having me.
Thanks for listening to The Exploding Human. Check out the website, theexplodinghuman.com, the YouTube channel, The Exploding Human with Bob Nickman, and The Exploding Human Facebook page. Those are all places you can listen to the show. Also, big thanks again to Steve Wiltshire. I encourage you to go to his website and their Facebook page to learn more about how to achieve optimal health. Thanks so much. Have a great day.